Hi, ladies, and welcome to our interview with Tonia Wells. I think that you are going to really enjoy this interview. She's got a wealth of knowledge to share with you guys. Tonia, thank you so much for taking the time. Why don't you take a second to introduce yourself and tell the girls a little bit about what it is that you do?
So my name is Tonia Wells, and first of all, I'm a mother of four. I have three boys; they're all grown, and then I have a 9-year-old daughter. So I'm mommy half the time, and then I'm a business owner the other half of the time. So I have a real busy schedule. Keeping up with my 9-year-old, making sure she goes to school and everything, and then I work, and then I still own a business. So I'm very, very busy.
Well, tell us a little bit about the business that you have.
So I have a glamour line. It's a new glamour line. It's called Mocha Tones. And it was developed from personal experience. I have a pear-shaped body, and so I have a lot of challenges with finding designs that fit me. And so a lot of pear-shaped women like myself, when we go shopping and we try to find clothing, we have issues because we don't have that perfect body shape where everything is perfectly the same. We
Hmm.
don't have the cookie cutter shape. We have a small top with a small waist and wide hips and a big bottom. So as a result, it's hard for us to be able to find clothing. And so if we buy something from Macy's, we have to take it and we have to get it altered, which means it costs extra money. So an $80 dress at Macy's ends up costing me about $110 when you add on alterations. And so I used to complain all the time, and my sister was like, "You're either going to do something about it or you're going to shut up," because she got tired of me. And so thus came Mocha Tones. So it's a line for primarily pear shaped women.
Well, that's really awesome, and I love the fact that you took a problem that you were personally having and found the solution for it.
Right.
I mean, that in essence is what it is to be an entrepreneur. You know, to find a problem, see a problem, and find the solution to it. So awesome, that's great. So, and you talked a little bit about what motivated you to start this clothing line and everything. So. What all does it take to do that? Because I mean, I'm sitting here thinking as you were talking, I'm like, my gosh, there's like clothing design, there's the fabrics, and then there's the whole like business stuff. So, what all did you have to do in order to be able to launch your business?
Well, first of all, I had to come up with a name. And so the name is indicative of the women who primarily have this problem. So I was at Macy's one day and, I was going through the same, issue over again. And I saw that there was a Hispanic woman who had the same dress on as me. And so she had the same issue as I did. So then probably about a month later, I was in, I think it was either Dillard's. It might have been Dillard's or it might have been Neiman's. And there was an Indian lady there. And so she had the same issue as I did. So I started thinking about it, and it was like, you know what? There were three women, different shades of brown, and that's where the mocha tones the name came in. So I say that to say you have to find a name that is going to stick out. And so for me, it was finding that name that nobody else had, something that people could identify with, who could recognize that from different names. And so I found that name, did the research to make sure no one else had that name, and then filed a DBA for it. And then it was going to the bank and, setting up your bank account. And then the next step was coming up with my designs. What kind of designs did I want to make, and who was a target market that I was going to market my clothes to? Who were the women who were like me that were in this same challenge that I had? And so it was sitting down, going through those phases. It also took finding a seamstress to help me. It meant finding a sketch artist. It meant going and finding software that I could use to start the initial design and work with my sketch artist to get it where my seamstress could understand what it was that I needed. And so it means having a group of people. You have to have people to help you. You have to have your vision, you have to have your name, you have to have some of the standard things, bank account, DBAs. And then it also means seeking professional help as far as I use SCORE of Houston
Mhm.
to help me with like getting my business plan together, helping with, financing, because it does take money. I've been doing this out of pocket for a while. So, now with my next step is, helping, looking for investors and people that can help fund my business so that I can take that next step into branching out and growing and expanding my business.
See, and I love all of the pieces that you just shared with us about what it took to get this launched, because I think a lot of times when we're watching shows like Shark Tank, there's some of the nitty gritty practical things that aren't really talked about. The getting and researching your name, setting up the DBA, setting up the bank account. Those are all they're not talked about, and those are the things where you can't go any further until you have that stuff done.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it can be very confusing. So talking about the fact that you use SCORE, which is an amazing resource.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so sharing that with us, that's a part of that's a side, ladies, of starting a business that a lot of people won't talk to you about. And it's some of the hardest and most confusing parts as well. So just realize that if that's something you want to do, that those are some pieces that you need to put in place. The business plan. Any bank you go to is going to they're going to ask you for
Yes.
your business plan. Any
Yes.
investor you go to is going to ask you for your business plan. And it isn't just that, well, I have this idea and this is how I think it should go. There's financials and everything like that in there.
Right.
So yeah, I'm
Right.
really glad that you shared that. Thank you. What do you think has been one of the biggest things that you struggled with in starting this, launching this clothing line, and how have you handled it?
So the biggest thing is this is the glamour business, the fashion business. There are several different competitors out there. This is an area where clothing is everywhere. And so you have to decide what's going to make you unique from everybody else. You have to be able to determine what's going to make people want your product. And so the biggest challenge for me is, wanting to be relevant, wanting to, hey, I want everybody to see what I have going on, but then also still being true to what Mocha Tones is supposed to be for. So, you have to look at, how we're like one of our competitors, it might be there's one, and the beauty about it is once you get into an industry and you start to learn, different players, it's really not a competition in the sense that I got to make more money. It becomes a friendly competition, you
Right.
know, but it's, you have to learn how to stay relevant. You have to learn how to push your brand in the best way possible. And that's always a challenge. And, especially in today's market where, a lot of people are really conservative with their money. And
Yeah.
so you have to be able to explain to them or make them see, why is this a good purchase? Why should you shop with me? And a lot of times you have to be careful how you portray yourself. It's very important that you take a look at some of the kind of mistakes that other brands make, and
Mhm.
you just kind of watch. And it's a challenge when you're in an industry where there's a lot of competitors. And so what I try to do is I try to look at, how do competitors do things that I can maybe adapt. It doesn't mean I have to do it exactly like they do it, but how can I take what they do and tweak it to make it work for Mocha Tones and make it work for that niche market that I'm targeting.
And that's absolutely one. I can't imagine how competitive it is, because I mean, the clothing industry, I mean, has got to be, I would think, one of the uh, more competitive industries or areas out there. And so it really does take, I would think, knowing that niche market, knowing who it is that is your customer. I mean, that really is, again, ladies, that's another really huge thing. If you're going to start your own business, whatever you're going to do, and even if you're not going to start your own business, and you're working for a company, really knowing what their client is.
Right,
A lot of
right,
times
right,
people will say like, hey, I can't, anybody who lives in a house is my customer or whatever. And it's like, that's not the case, because you really do have to, once you know that ideal client, then it makes it easier, I would think, to talk to them about why they want to spend their money with you, because you already know what their pain points are. So I think that's really, really important. So it's a great way to handle it too. I mean, taking a look and seeing what the competitors are doing, and how can you do it a little bit differently, or how can you tweak it for your style. So that's awesome.
right.
Great
Yeah.
advice. What is maybe the most rewarding part of launching your business?
When I first launched my business, or when I first talked about it, I would talk to my mother, and she was like, "Okay, yeah," because my dad was an entrepreneur, and he had businesses, and they didn't always pick up and and flourish like he wanted them to. So my mom had been down that route of hearing, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do this, and I want to do this, and she never discouraged me, but it was always a question in her mind if it would happen. And so on October 29th, 2017, I launched Mocha Tones in a fashion show, and my mother got to see um, my designs hit the runway. And the biggest thing was I have my daughter. My daughter is involved in this process with me as well, and she started seeing the modeling aspects of it, so she decided she wanted to be a model. And so one of the things I started doing before I actually launched my line was participating in fashion shows, working fashion shows, and working with a production company. So I knew the backhand of it. So I knew that when it was my time, I knew what to do. I knew how I wanted my time to happen. And so my daughter was involved in that, and so she got to see the modeling side of it. She also got to see the business side of it. So she was there when I went to get the patterns, when we did the casting call to get my models, and we did their measurements. And so my mom was involved in bits and pieces of that, because I wanted her to see it, but then I wanted her to see the end product. So what was rewarding for me was the night that I launched it. The first thing my mom saw was me go to the fabric store and take the designs that I had and pick the fabric out. The next thing she saw was us hitting the runway with my designs. The most rewarding part of that was hearing my mother say, "I'm proud of you because you started this and you finished it and you're continuing to go.
That's
You're
awesome.
continuing to move on." And so it's rewarding and it could be just the smallest thing. It doesn't have to be something big, because when I launched, it wasn't a lot of people, but it was actually seeing from fruition, because I started this process in 2014. I didn't actually launch until 2017.
Mhm.
So it was being able to get all those pieces into place to where my first big step was launching, and launching with my mother there to see, that I started from nothing and I did get to something.
Saying that's awesome, and that's got to be a great thing to be able to have your mom see it, as well as your daughter to be able to see that. So that's awesome, and I like that you're putting in the dates, because I was actually thinking, like, I wonder when she started, when she said, like, when this idea came to fruition. And that's a huge thing too, ladies. It's like, this isn't sometimes a lot of times when we see things become popular or whatever, it seems like they were an overnight success,
Right.
even like the story that they talk about, they're an overnight sensation. And that overnight sensation is 3 5 a decade, year long process of all that hard work. It does take a lot of dedication to get there. So kudos to you for having your idea and following through with it, and the greater things that you're continuing to do, looking for that next step of looking for the investors and everything. That's awesome. um so you said that like you were, this kind of like idea came into your thought process is like a 2014, we really kind of started
Mhm.
working on things. And here we are, we're 6 years later. So how is it different now than what you thought it was going to be back in 2014 when you're just getting started?
So in 2014, I thought, okay, when we hit the scene, everybody's gonna like it. We're gonna be doing fashion shows everywhere. and we launched, and I got some attention. I got um, two covers, like, one from a stylist in Houston. I got one from another lady. She put us on the cover of her. She has like an Instagram account, so she covered us when we went and did a photo shoot. So, she did the before and afters, and, did my interview and everything. And then nothing. And then in 2018, we did a fashion show, and then nothing. And in 2019, we did 3 fashion shows. So it's not always going to be where, everything's popping.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always going to be where you're going to be in the limelight. There's going to be times when you're going to be at the top of your game. There's going to be times where you're not. And so the thing that I've learned from this is that the downtime that you have, you need to be working, and there's always something that you can do to make your business better. And so for me, in the downtime, what I'm trying to work on is finding a manufacturer so that I can take that next step. So that now, as I approach more and more people come to me, I have to be ready for that chance when somebody says, yes, we're going to fund your business, we're going to invest in your business. I have to have that piece in place to say, here's my manufacturer, here's how much it's going to cost, here are my numbers, and have all that ready to go so that, I'm ready, to walk. Then it's also working on my website. My website, I'm into rebranding now, because now I see that, even with what we're going through now with COVID-19, that people are shopping more online. They're not going to, brick and mortar stores anymore. So for me, it's my opportunity that I'm a small business, but I need to be out there. I need to have an online presence, and it needs to be a strong online presence.
Mm-hmm.
So, during the times that, it's up and down, but on the down times, I'm still working. I'm still trying to get my business to where I need to be so that when we come back on the up, I'm ready for it.
There you go. Exactly. There is no, and I don't think there is any like downtime. You know what I mean? Because you're still having to, work
Right.
and keep up and
Right.
get prepared for the next like swing up and everything. So that's awesome. And and again, ladies, that's something to consider, and remember that you're always constantly working to that next step, whether you are at a high or it's in a little bit of a downturn. Always working. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, you're
To talk
welcome.
with us.
Thank you
We
for the
really appreciate it.
invitation.
Absolutely. Ladies, you want to be sure to scroll down below the video. We've got a little bit of a written interview for you as well. And then below that is the comment section for you to ask Tonia any questions or leave her any comments. So thank you so much, ladies. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Thank you.